What's the wildest way you've seen an HOA scam backfire in court? Back when my wife and I were still newlyweds, we decided to build our dream home. We hired an architect, pored over every detail, and found a beautiful half-acre lot tucked far enough into the Virginia countryside for peace and quiet, but still close enough to our jobs. The best part? No HOA. We double-checked with our lawyer to make sure none of the previous owners had ever tied the property into one, because that's a favorite trick of shady developers. The title was clean, no restrictions, no nonsense. For years, life was perfect. We lived in that house, loved it, and made friends with the neighbors. When we eventually moved, we kept the house as a rental property. That's when the trouble started. A big development company rolled into the area. Let's just say their name definitely wasn't Ryan Homes. They spent years buying up properties, tearing down the old, throwing up rows of cheaply built houses, and selling them for inflated prices. With that came skyrocketing property taxes, gentrification, and of course, a brand new HOA baked right into the development. Families who had lived there for decades got pushed out. My wife and I had seen it coming. The developers knew they couldn't force us out. Our taxes were manageable, our finances were solid, and our title was free of HOA obligations. So instead, they tried to nag and harass us into joining voluntarily. They called, they mailed, they even showed up in person. We had our lawyer shut them down, and for a while they backed off. But once we moved and turned the place into a rental, the harassment shifted to our tenants. The HOA reps started spreading lies, telling our renters that they could be evicted because we weren't protecting them properly. They pushed pamphlets under doors and even mailed fake envelopes stamped eviction notice. Inside, the letters claimed this could be their future without the HOA. Imagine being a tenant and getting that in the mail. Terrifying. My wife and I were furious. We told the developer directly that all communication needed to go through our lawyer. They ignored us. We filed harassment complaints with the police and had our tenants give statements. A formal cease and desist letter was sent, and they blew it off like it was nothing. When my lawyer finally confronted their legal team, their response was simple. If you don't like it, take us to court. So we did. The day of the hearing, I walked into the courthouse with my lawyer, who looked calm and collected. Across the aisle were 4 attorneys representing the developer, looking smug. I figured this was going to be a long, ugly battle, but an hour later, everything changed. After the preliminary hearing, the judge called a private session with both sides. My lawyer stepped out with them, and when he came back, he had a little smile on his face. They're going to settle, he said. I was confused. Settle? Already? What happened? That's when he explained the bombshell. Over the past 2 years, the developer had built 51 homes in that county. Every single one had been inspected before closing by a woman who never actually held a home inspector license. She was just a real estate agent, which meant every one of those sales was technically invalid. The homes weren't legally inspected, the closing paperwork was tainted, and the county and state were about to come down on them like a hammer. The developer's lawyers looked like 4 cats that had just been dragged through a rainstorm. They agreed to pay me $10,000 to walk away quietly, knowing full well that the real storm was just beginning. That money wasn't even the real win. What mattered was that the county and state would now be digging into every one of their illegal sales. Millions of dollars in fines, fees, and settlements were about to crush them. My wife and I gave the settlement money straight to our tenants. They were the ones who had endured months of harassment and intimidation. We didn't need it, but they deserved it. In the end, the HOA bullies who thought they could scare us into line ended up exposing themselves. All it took was pushing us too far, and suddenly their entire operation unraveled.